Welcome back to Runeverse. I'm Andrew, and in this video I'm going to be playing Hour of Need, a recently fulfilled Kickstarter game that I've been looking forward to a long time. It's a superhero game with the Modular Deck System, MDS, meaning they're all different decks. Everything uses a deck, and you can combine them however you want. So I'm going to be playing a couple of the heroes, one of them from the Gem and Ice expansion. That'll be Gem. Here's the card back of his deck here. I'm also playing with Judge, just to mix things up. And she is from the Judge and Jury expansion. The issue that I'm playing, or the scenario, is called Twisted Myths. This is from the Divine Law expansion. And I'm playing against Curtains, and he actually has his own deck as well. And that's the villain we're going to be playing against in this scenario. You can use any villain on any issue. I actually forget which expansion Curtains is from. Might be the core box. I'm not sure. And actually, this scenario, Twisted Myths, does have its own card back as well. So I'll go ahead and read the issue description. I'm not going to read everything related to the issue as we continue playing, but basically it tells the story of someone called Gale, who is one of the cultists that we'll be encountering. Let's read the intro here. It says, the opening of the Astralacy awakened a myriad of spiritual beliefs that had been dormant for eons. Eager deities vied for influence on Earth, and many of them found fervent followers among the mortals there. One of these spiritual beings was the great dealer himself, Lhumast. And then it goes on to talk about Gale and some first-person speech from the cultist perspective. But we're going to be the heroes who are trying to stop the cultists. So suffice it to say, we are now in these creepy woods here, and there are going to be cultists going around. And one of the things we need to do to set up as well is choose one of these schemes for each of the heroes. So rather than try to shuffle 4 cards, I'm just going to roll a d8. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 for Gem. We got 2. So he will have to deal with the Before the Throne scheme. And for Judge, I'll re-roll 1 or 2. We got 8, so she will have to deal with a Dank Descent. So these two are not going to be used this game. If we had more players, we would use them. The game actually plays up to 6 players if you have at least the core set and 1 expansion. If you have just the standalone expansions, you can play 2 players. Core set plays 4. But as it is, we're going to play a 2-player game for the sake of variety and showing off more characters. I think I might actually put them like this. I'll put like these like this, because we actually have to go in order whenever we need to resolve the enemy stuff, which will be during the hero turn after either of the heroes uses both of their actions. They then have to resolve every card that is engaged with them. So let's take a quick look at the order of play. Basically, it's the game round. It's going to start with the villain turn, meaning the villain is going to draw a card for each enemy, and then for each hero, and then there's rules about how to resolve some of the stuff going on there. And then we'll play the game round, we'll play the hero turn next, where each hero gets to do 2 actions. They'll also have a hand of cards, and cards may circumvent the action system a bit. Actions aren't the end-all be-all in this game, but they're certainly important because once you've used both of your actions, you will have to resolve all the threats in their area. And then after every hero is finished, then you play the issue turn, where we draw one of the issue cards for the Twisted Myths. And basically the Twisted Myths are going to have the extra rules that there are going to be cultists, and we're going to use these kind of generic issue tokens as cultists, and they'll be appearing out on these altar spaces. And they'll represent cultists that have 1 hit point, basically the same as a minion. I do have the miniatures expansion, so I have upgraded bystanders and minions. And I've painted mine, so if you pick up your own copy, they will be kind of a standard gray plastic miniature. But basically, if the issue or the rules or anything ever tells us we need to put a cultist out on one of these altars, but all 4 of them are occupied already by a cultist, that means the ritual has progressed, and if it's ever progressed 3 times, we will lose. So we'll see how some of that works later on. But I guess before we get started, we should also take a look at Curtains, because in order to win, we have to defeat Curtains. So that's the main victory condition of the game, is just to beat the villain. But we have to find him first. So he's currently scheming in the background. And at the top right, you can see it says 10 per player in that purple cloud. I think that's like a brain. That's his thwart value or something like that. So we need to get 20 tokens on him in order to flip him to the other side, where he actually will have hit points. And then he has 20 hit points, and we can beat him up. But we can't even start trying to find him until we can remove both of these 2 hidden tokens. And the way we get rid of those hidden tokens is by finishing these schemes that we've kind of randomly selected for ourselves. So that will be Agenda 1, and then Agenda 2 will be to get 20 Justice on him, and Agenda 3 will be to get 20 damage on him. He also has a special rule that you may have seen that we're going to actually only have access to 5 per player focus tokens. So we only have 10 focus tokens. Normally the components are not limited. Now I'm using these dice instead of a lot of the tokens in the game just because I didn't care for them. So damage, justice, and focus I've replaced by dice. And I guess we're just going to be only having 10 focus. So for now, I'm just going to put these 2 dice on 5 each to represent our 10. I'll have to pull dice depending on how those focus tokens are distributed, but Curtains can also have focus, which is unusual for a villain, but he actually uses it to shield himself from being solved against and attacked. Again, we'll see how that works later. So the first thing we do to actually start playing the game is perform the villain turn. So we will draw a villain card from the deck for each hero, and that is going to start with Gem. So just pull 1 card and take a look at it. So the main thing we need to be looking at is at the top, you can see that yellow cross icon. That's one of the 4 symbols that reference, this might be just off the screen, or you might be able to just barely see that top, that yellow space there. That is what this is referring to, and it's basically saying we need to add a minion into that scheme panel. The game comes with 10 minion tokens, or I'm playing with the 10 minion miniatures, but either way, it is component limited to 10. And if we ever need to place a minion and we're out, a crisis occurs. So hopefully that doesn't come up. But I'm going to go ahead and place 1 yellow minion onto that space. And then that second symbol there is actually referring to the special text down here. So we need to read that. It says you must either move 1 focus from the supply to the villain, or Curtains inflicts you. And inflict, for some reason, is what enemies do to deal damage. So that would deal 3 damage to us because he has an inflict value of 3. Or by us, I mean Gem, because Gem is the one who's drawn this card. But it said if it's possible, he needs to take 1 focus. So this limited supply of 10 focus is now going down to 9. And 1 of them is going to be placed on Curtains himself, and he'll use that later when we try to solve against him. But that's it for Gem. We don't need to resolve the showdown text there. That is for another occasion. That would be if we're actually attacking him. And then for Judge, we get a Curtains card, a villain card here, and we get the blue diamond symbol. So a blue minion is going to be placed onto the blue space. Oh, and I misspoke. They actually are placed on the scheme panel. So there's a difference between the scheme panel and the scheme space. Technically, these are the same space. If you're in this space, you're considered to be in this panel, but they don't. But the card does say to place it into the panel. So the second symbol there is saying that the villain will inflict or scheme, and we actually get to choose which one he does. If he inflicts, that means he's just going to deal 3 damage, and that would be to Judge, again, because he has the 3 damage ability on that villain card. Or she can choose to have him scheme instead. And what the scheming does depends on what panel he's in. And right now, this text up here, it says scheme. If there is at least 1 cultist on the map, the villain advances. Otherwise, place 1 cultist at an altar. So in this case, I think rather than take 3 damage, we will let him bring out 1 cultist. I'm going to put it right here because it is on the way to the green scheme panel. And Judge needs to go to the green scheme panel anyway to deal with this dank descent scheme. Then we have to resolve that third symbol, which is to place a bystander on one of the 4 bystander places on the map. And if we were out of bystanders, which is component limited to 8, crisis would also occur in that scenario. So I'm going to put a bystander in this space here because it is on the way to the blue scheme panel, which is where Gem needs to go. I'll also say, when it comes to my painting, that the colors on minions and bystanders are irrelevant, but I just decided it'd be fun to paint them in the red, yellow, green, blue color scheme that the boards use, that the scheme panels use, and that the lackeys use. So anyway, that is end of the villain phase, which is kind of like part of setup, but technically part of the game round. And then we can actually start. Now, we probably should have done this first, but every character starts with 4 cards, and they can mulligan by discarding the cards they don't want, and then drawing replacements, and then reshuffling everything. I think I will actually, I'm going to keep Gem's hand, but mulligan 2 for Judge. Let's see what we get. It needs to get shuffled back. So now that we're in the hero turn, the heroes can do actions and other things that aren't actions in any order. The only kind of exception is that once a hero has used both of that hero's actions, the game is going to kick in and say, hey, you need to resolve your threat area. Once their threat area is resolved, however, or there's a window before you are forced to resolve that where you can do things that are not actions. Nobody can spend any actions till that threat area has been resolved. But then the hero turn continues until everybody has done all of their actions and resolved all of their threat areas. So it's kind of like an open-ended window where anybody can do anything. But I'm going to start with Gem and take a look at a couple cards in his hand. So he does have something called Trinity tokens, and this is the Trinity tokens reference that basically says Gem is going to play with Trinity tokens. Some of his cards are going to use them, and they can either be charged or depleted. And the token looks like this. And in fact, we are going to be placing one on this card here, Cosmic Congruence. And this is a card that says at any time you can deplete the Trinity token on this card to heal 3 damage. So he can flip this over and heal 3. Obviously not necessary right now. You can also exhaust this card, which just means it can't be used again until the next hero turn in order to move 1 space for each of his charged Trinity tokens. Currently he doesn't have any, but we are going to be playing this card, so he'll then have 1 Trinity token, so he could exhaust that card to move 1 space. Then if you have no charged Trinity tokens, you may charge one of them. So at the bottom right corner, there is an absence of an action symbol, which means in order to play this card, all he has to do is play it. It does not require an action. So he's just going to put that card directly into play. And now he has 1 Trinity token. He has all of those abilities available. Nothing was spent except for that now he only has 3 cards in his hand. But now he's going to go ahead and play another one of those, which is Visions of Mathora. This is also a constant. So constant is the kind of main thing I didn't point out on Cosmic Congruence, also a constant. And this is the same thing. So it's going to have a Trinity token on it. And after a hero rolls dice, you may deplete the Trinity token on this card to treat up to 3 focus results as hit results. And we'll get into how the dice work once we need to roll them. But also you can exhaust this card to either gain a focus or discard a focus to charge a Trinity token. We haven't talked about focus yet, other than that we know that Curtains is going to be taking some and we have a limited supply. But focus is something that can be used to enhance your dice results, which again we'll see later, and it can also be used to flip a hero to their focus side. So let's take a moment and actually look at the hero. Here we have Gem. He has 10 health, 2 attack value, and 2 solve value, which those 2 stats, attack and solve, indicate how many dice he gets to roll when he does one of those actions. And then we do see the action symbol there, and that is the same as what these action tokens look like. It says deplete. As an action, he can deplete 1 Trinity token. Has to be one of these available. It can't be this one that he still has off to the side that he's not using yet. But he can deplete one of these in order to reveal a card from his hand and resolve its gleam effect. So he has some cards in his hand that have gleam effects, and that's the only way to use them is by using his ability to trigger the gleam effect, but doing so does not cost the card from the hand, so you get to keep it. Or he can exhaust to charge a Trinity token and move, which is nice because normally moving, just the generic move, you get to move 3 spaces, but it costs you one of your actions. So he has the ability to just exhaust and charge a token, which is a benefit, in order to move. He also has a focused side. So if he ever has 5 focus, he can spend 5 focus to go to his focus side where he now has 3 attack dice. When he flips, he gets to charge each of his tokens. But if all of his tokens are ever depleted at the same time, he goes back to his normal side. And that ability that costs an action to deplete a Trinity token and resolve a gleam instead is just an exhaust ability, which is nice, although he does lose that action or exhaust ability to move. So it becomes harder to charge up his tokens. So his first objective is going to be to go down to this blue scheme panel. So he needs to go to the Palace of Lhumast and solve this. It has 8 schemes, so he needs to put 8 justice tokens on it. In order to solve it, he needs to be in the blue scheme panel. It says the mythical stronghold of Lhumast, Demon King and Warden of the Signs. When it activates, it will do stuff that we're not resolving now, but basically it's going to put more cultists on the map and trigger negative things in that sense. But mostly we're looking at he needs to go down to the blue area and then put 8 tokens on there. I will say he does have a third constant card, a third card that requires one or uses one of these Trinity tokens. So the earlier we can get that, the better, because we want to have his full setup out on board. It's nice that we got 2 already. But I think I want to dig deeper for more cards. So I'm going to do the first action. So I'm going to spend this action in order to use his hero ability, deplete a Trinity token, and reveal a card from your hand and resolve its gleam effect. So we're just revealing this, and we're just doing the gleam at the bottom. It says each hero may gain 1 focus and draw 1 card. So we'll reduce this by 2 because of their supply is limited, and give each hero 1 focus. And they each get to draw 1 more card. And then this goes back to his hand. It was just revealed for a moment. Now I'm going to use his other hero ability to exhaust and charge a tourniquet token in order to move, and the move default is 3 spaces, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, heading down toward the blue panel. Then I'm actually going to play that card, so I was just using for Gleam, but now I'm actually going to play it. Again, it doesn't have an action symbol, so it doesn't take an action, but it says charge 1 tourniquet token. None of them are depleted, so if unable to, each hero draws 1 card, so he gets to draw another card, and Judge also gets 1. And then this will go to his discard pile. We still did not get the 3rd tourniquet constant. Because we can do things in any order, I'm going to switch to Judge, and we're going to play a card for her. And this card actually does have the action symbol, so it is going to take one of her 2 actions in order to play it. And it is also a constant, so it's going to go into play. It says when you play it, you can immediately move to any scheme panel. So she's going to jump all the way from her starting space straight into the bowels. And then she can exhaust that to choose an enemy within 3 spaces and place your figure adjacent to it and deal 1 damage to it. But I'm not going to do that for now. And then later she can exhaust this card to choose an enemy within 3 spaces of her and place her figure adjacent to it and deal 1 damage to it. So we'll save that part for later. But for now that she is in the bowels where she can do the Dank Descent scheme, we might want to go ahead and try solving to put some justice tokens on there. We're going to do that actually instead of using the default solve action, which you just roll 2 dice. We're going to do Burden of Proof. Again, this is going to cost one of her 2 actions. And we're going to solve and then choose a hero to gain a clue card. So she's still just going to be solving for 2, but we get to bring out our dice tray here, and she's going to roll 2 dice to solve, and then we'll see what we got. So we got a hit and a hit with a focus symbol. So that means she's got 2 hits and then 1 focus means she can either spend her 1 focus to change that focus symbol into a 3rd hit, or she can keep just the 2 hits and actually gain a focus after resolving the action. In this case, I think let's just take the focus and take the 2 hits, which means we're going to put 2 justice here, and that's 2 out of 8 needed to complete that, and then any hero gains a clue, and I think we'll actually give the clue to herself, and the clue looks like this. So they either have 1 or 2 dice pictured, meaning whenever you do an action where you roll dice, an attack or solve action, you can discard clues to add as many pictured dice as there are there to your roll, which means you can end up rolling a bunch of dice if you spend a bunch of clues, or you can use it for the ability, which this one says choose a hero to gain 2 focus, which is nice. There are a few different ways to get clues, so in that case we just got it through the card effect of Burden of Proof. But whenever you rescue a minion, you get a clue. If you defeat an enemy other than a minion, you get a clue. Whenever you solve a problem, you get a clue. So there are a few different ways to get them, and Judge in particular likes having them because of her built-in hero ability here, which is that as an action she can solve, gaining +1 die if you have at least 1 clue. So basically she can solve for 3 as long as she has a clue unspent. So now she will have that clue, although getting 2 focus is nice. I'll be thinking about doing that. But that'll be the end of Burden of Proof, and now because she has spent both of her 2 actions, she has to resolve her threat area. So we are going to resolve a Dank Descent, which is the underworld of Zara is an uninhabitable cave of glistening horror. Activate, so that's what we're doing now. Place 1 cultist in an altar. Then if there are 2 or less cultists on the map, activate the ritual effect on Beseech Lhumast. So we have to place a cultist, and I guess we'll put it down here because it's kind of nearby, but then we have to do the ritual effect on Beseech Lhumast. And this is a special card that got set aside as part of the issue deck. It says each time this card is solved, meaning put 7 justice on here, we can discard 1 issue token from the issue over. Basically, there's a lot of text, but what it's saying is that whenever we need to place a cultist on the board, again, if all 4 altars are occupied by cultists already, we will place one of those tokens instead on this card. And if there are ever 3 tokens on this card, we lose the game. This is giving us the option that we can solve it for 7 in order to take a token that has been placed on this card and remove it without actually removing this card. Now, the top left corner, it says cultist with a star. I'm still not totally clear on the rules, but that's supposed to be an indicator of where we need to be if we want to put justice on this card through solve actions. As far as I can tell, it means we need to be on the same space as a cultist. So the cultists don't actually block their space, so we would need to be on the same space as the cultist in order to solve and place justice on beseech Lhumast. But for now, we're doing the ritual effect. And at the bottom, you can see the crisis effect. So I mentioned things that can cause a crisis to occur. That would be the thing that happens if a crisis ever does occur, which is going to be put one issue token on the issue overview card, which again, if we ever have 3 on it, we lose. So crisis just directly puts 1 on. The ritual says either suffer 2 damage or place 1 cultist. And you know what? I think I will let her take 2 damage. She has 14 health. And I did play a practice scenario. It was my first game of Hour of Need. This is my second. And I played the same scenario to get the hang of things. And I will tell you, there were a lot of cultists and a lot of advancing of curtains. So I'm going to try to avoid that by just taking some damage instead of placing the cultist for now. But that's it. We placed the cultist and then we resolved the ritual effect, which caused us to take 2 damage. And then we can proceed with the hero turn with heroes continuing to do things. It's just the judge can't do any more actions. And I don't know if this is the best use of Jim's second action, but I'm going to play Prismatic Construct. So again, costs an action because of the action symbol. We're not going to be using the gleam. It's just going to do attack, targeting X spaces within 6 of you. X equals the number of charged Trinity tokens. So he has 2 charged Trinity tokens. So you can target 2 spaces within 6 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to attack both of the cultists with 1 attack. And his attack value is 2. So we're going to roll 2 dice. And 1 damage is enough to take out a cultist. So we'll roll 2 dice. We got 2 hits. One of them says burst, which means we get to take another die and add it into our dice pool. And we actually rolled focus, which is kind of perfect because we only needed 1 damage anyway. I mean, this would be an even better roll if we got 2 focus and a burst. That burst will be a hit and we get 2 focus. But as it is, 2 hits and 1 focus is fine. Again, we could spend his focus to turn this into a 3rd hit, or we can keep just the 2 hits and make this give him a focus. So he's going to go up to 2. And both of those cultists are going to be taken out. So we reset our cultist count. And I should be keeping track because now we've got 2 focus here, 2 here, that's 4, and 1 on curtains, that's 5. So there should only be 5 left in the supply. Total of 10 this game. And that was an action. So that would be Jem's second action, which means we need to resolve his threat area, which is the same as a Dank Descent Before the Throne says, place a cultist on an altar. Then if there are 2 or less on the map, activate the ritual effect. So we'll place another one back out on the map. And then to resolve the ritual effect, he has to either take 2 damage or place another cultist. And again, I think we'll go ahead and take the 2 damage rather than place extra cultists. Because if Curtains advances all the way to the end, which he does, the more cultists are out, the scheme effect of the 4th panel can be very punishing, dealing a lot of damage. So let's just take the damage now. We can mitigate that a bit and avoid the advances. Now, the way the rulebook is worded, because we've resolved both of the threat phases, which we are forced to do once their actions are used, we're meant to move on to the issue turn and the hero turn ends. But it seems like the spirit of the game is that you can do things that aren't necessarily actions before passing. So this might be a house rule here. It might be the case that we're meant to just immediately end the hero turn. But I got a few more things that I want to do that aren't actions. So I'm going to assume or play as though I can do those things. One of them is I'm going to exhaust this card to either gain a focus or discard a focus to charge it. So I'm going to gain a focus, going up to 3 focus, and this will go down to 4. Also going to use Cosmic Congruence to exhaust it and move a space for each charged Trinity token. Then if you have no charged Trinity tokens, you can charge one, but they are going to be charged, so we're just going to move 2 spaces. It would have been great to have 3, but alas, we haven't drawn that 3rd other card yet. And I'm going to use Judge's Shackling Hook. It says it can be exhausted to choose an enemy within 3 spaces of you, place your figure adjacent to them, and deal 1 damage. And because the panel and the scheme space are the same, this cultist is within 3, so I'm going to have her move over to the cultist and deal 1 damage to it, and take that one out as well. And that's probably the biggest difference between my house rule, assuming that is a house rule, versus maybe how they intended it to be. I'm not sure, because that cultist was placed due to the activation of Jem's threat phase, whereas these other 2 things I probably could have done beforehand, although this one wasn't within 6, so the prismatic constructs wouldn't have worked anyway, so I don't know. So apologies on that if I'm confusing things. But nonetheless, that will be the end of the hero turn, and to finalize it, both players get to draw 1 more card. Still not our 3rd constant. And then we do the issue turn for the first time this game, which is that the players draw and resolve 1 issue card. So it's not 1 per player, it's just 1. And when this deck runs out, the game will end. So that's another way we can lose. Let's take a look at this Twisted Myths issue card. It says, Awaken the Dark World. Discard an issue token from the Depths. From the Depths is one of the scheme cards that we did not randomly select this game. So we actually skipped to that last sentence, which says, if From the Depths is not in play, the villain schemes instead. And again, the scheme is going to be the text that is printed on the panel of where the villain currently is. So he's at the R of Zara, and it says, if there is at least one cultist on the map, the villain advances. Otherwise, place one cultist in an altar. The ever-shifting vortex known as the Eye of Zara serves as a portal between our world and Lhumast's hellish domain of Zara. In this case, it's nice that we did get rid of all the cultists, so we can just place one cultist, and we'll just put it right back next to Judge for her to deal with later. And that is the end of the issue turn, which means it's also the end of round 1, and we'll move on to round 2 with the next villain turn. All right, so it's been a couple days, but I'm ready for round 2. I actually did get clarity on kind of how the rules work for using non-actions at different times, which is specifically that exhaust effects can be used at any time as long as another effect isn't resolving, which means you could even use some of these exhaust effects during the issue turn or the villain turn, kind of like in between cards, as long as you're not resolving another effect at that same time, which seems a little bit weird. But that allowance does not apply to playing non-action cards, which is an interesting distinction. So keep that in mind as I play, but I think what I'm going to play, maybe this is a house rule, and if I have to change this back to the rules as written, I will, but I'm not going to use anything during the issue or villain turn, but I am going to leave that window for myself open after the second hero finishes both their actions and resolves their issue effects and resolves their threat area. The heroes will have to decide to end the hero turn before it jumps into the issue turn, which again is not the rules as written. So I apologize for that, but it just feels better to me to play it that way. But here I've got the two curtains cards, the villain cards, one for each player. So let's resolve gems first, and we get a curtain call, which means that this peril's going to come into play. And perils actually didn't come into play at all in my first playthrough. So this is actually my very first peril. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this token here and put it out onto the matching space on the map. It says, if this peril enters the villain's space, discard this card and the villain schemes. The villain is currently in red, not in yellow. Actually, I'm not sure if that's supposed to apply if he's still scheming. If he were in this scheme panel, does that count as being in his space? I think it would, because it's all the same space. I think the idea of whether you're here or here is mostly just thematic and for visual purposes. But nonetheless, it says activate, discard a focus, and if unable to, this peril moves 3 spaces toward the villain. Very interesting. I feel like that movement is more metaphorical, but this card is going to come into play in Gem's threat area, and again, after he uses both of his actions, now both of the cards will resolve or activate. And then for Judge, got this other villain card, which is actually also a curtain call. So she's going to have the red one, and he has the yellow one. Very interesting. I got 2 right off the bat, and they are solvable. So they are problems. They have 5 solved there, but you need to be in the same space as it to solve it. So we can proceed back to the hero turn of the second round. So we'll ready all our cards and actions. I think the first thing I want to do is use Gem's exhaust, or not as exhaust, actually I'm just going to deplete 1 Trinity token in order to reveal a card from hand and resolve its gleam. We're going to reveal Ebb and Flow. The gleam effect is each hero may move and then either heal 3 or gain 2 focus. Actually pause that, but because first I want to use this card. It says at any time you may deplete this Trinity token to heal 3 damage. I'm going to do that and heal the 2 damage that's on him, and you'll see why in a second. And now each hero can move and then either heal 3 or gain 2 focus. So I'm going to have Gem move 1 and rescue this bystander, and then 2, 3. And then he's going to gain 2 focus, which puts him up to 5. And when you have 5 focus, you spend it. So this should now have 7 in the pool here. And he actually flips to his focus side. So focus side Gem is the same 10 hit points. He now has 3 attack, 2 solve. And when he's flipped, charge each Trinity token. So we get to immediately refill both of these. And then if if they're ever all discharged or spent or whatever that's called, he will flip back. And then on this side, he can just exhaust to deplete a Trinity token and resolve its Gleam effect instead of having to spend an action. So, but he doesn't have a way to innately refresh them. So as part of this card ebb and flow, Judge also will get to move, and I think we'll move her back into the bowels and get 2 focus, putting her up to 4. I'm going to exhaust Cosmic Congruence to move 1 for each charged Trinity, which is going to be 2, but we're just going to move 1 into the scheme panel of the Palace of Lhumast. Oops, he's got bumped around. And we can do solve actions at this problem here now, which is good. And also, when he rescued that bystander, he should have drawn a clue. Whenever you rescue a bystander, you get a clue. And this just says you get 1 die, or you can draw a card. And I think I actually will just take that card right away. I'm still digging for his 3rd constant. Instead, we got another copy of Cosmic Congruence, which is not going to be beneficial because, well, it is beneficial, but that little arrow to the left of the name there means we can only have 1 of them in play. So nothing on that card is relevant since we already have 1, except for the little set of wings over here. That wing is something I haven't talked about yet. It is called, I think, a heroic feat. And some cards have icons in that position, and that means the card can be discarded to do an action without spending an action. So in this case, he can move anywhere on the map by spending that card without costing an action, just having to spend that card. And because we already have a Cosmic Congruence, that's all this will be good for, although moving anywhere on the map is quite nice. Right now what I'm thinking is I would love to solve this, and I'd love to solve it with 1 action, a Dank Descent. But I don't know if that's realistic, and I'm going to do something else instead. I'm probably not going to be able to solve this in 1 action. It's probably going to take her whole turn here, both of the actions from Judge. But I'm going to start out just by solving. I'm going to use her ability here on the case. It says as an action, she can solve, gaining +1 die if she has at least 1 clue. Right now, she does have 1 clue, the shared intel. I'm doing this for a couple reasons. One is I just want to get progress on here, and the other thing is that by rolling dice, by doing attack or solve actions, you have the opportunity to gain focus, and I would like her to get to her focus side as well, because on that side she just has a base 3 solve value, which is really nice. So we're going to go ahead and try to solve the Dank Descent. It already has 2 justice on it. We're going to be rolling 3 dice and hoping for as many successes as we can get, as well as at least 1 focus. And we got 3 hits and no focus, so dang. Well, unfortunately, I don't think there's anything we can do about that. So we just have to take our 3 hits. In a weird way, hit is actually not the best thing. I mean, hit is a success is great, but a burst is much better because it's a success and you get to roll another die. There's also this face, which is a success plus a focus, and you can either spend a focus to get an extra success out of that, or you can just take that 1 focus. And then there's the actual just plain old focus side, which is probably the worst, but there's no blanks. So in a way, I mean, it's weird because you're used to hits or successes being great die faces, but in this game, successes are only like the 3rd best die face you can get. But anyway, that's going to put this up to 5 out of 8. And so I guess I'm actually just going to use that clue now. Maybe I should have done that first. Choose a hero to gain 2 focus, and we'll choose Judge, putting her up to 6. And the rules are such that you can't go above 5, but you can spend the 5 to flip as you're gaining excess. So she's going to be ending up with 1 here and spending 5 to become her focus side, which, again, as I said, she's got 3 attack, 3 solve. And now as an action, she can solve with +1 die and targeting any problem in play, but then you flip back to regular. But until you do that, you have this access to this focus or exhaust ability to put a justice on any problem. So she now has 1 focus left, and then still the 2 damage. And that clue is spent. That was one of her actions. And this should be up to 8 in the supply there. Now I'm tempted to solve with Judge and finish the Dank Descent, but I'm seeing what is going to happen, because after she uses her 2nd action, we have to resolve her threat area. And the bowels will cause us to put a cultist out and then also resolve the ritual effect, which she could just take 2 damage from that, or put out a 3rd cultist. And then Curtain Call will make her spend a focus, which actually that's fine. So you know what, maybe we'll just stick with that. Because I was thinking otherwise if she didn't have it, it would move toward him, and then that would mean this is discarded and he would scheme, and his current scheme ability says if there is at least 1 cultist, he will advance. and there would be 3 cultists, 2 or 3 cultists at that point. And she can get rid of this cultist, but there would be no way to prevent him from having at least 1, because this would have resolved immediately beforehand. So as it is, none of that is that bad, and maybe we just get that out of the way before finishing out what Jem wants to do. So I'm going to go ahead and just have her solve then, and her base solve is now 3, regardless of whether she has a clue. So we'll just do that. Oh, and we actually got an even worse roll than before, because now we actually have to spend 2 justice or 2 focus to get the hits we need. But I guess we're going to use Visions of Mithora. So after a hero rolls any dice, you may deplete the Trinity token on this card to treat up to 3 focus results as success results. So we're going to change these into successes, mitigating as well we can. And that'll put the 5 up to 8, meaning this card is solved. And that actually means it flips over. And now it becomes From the Depths. Each time an issue token is discarded from the issue overview card, place it on this card. Discard this card if there are ever 3 issue tokens on it. So again, if these altars overflow with cultists, the tokens start to be placed on there, which represent the ritual being completed. And if it ever has 3 tokens here, we lose. But we can solve via this card here, Beseech Lhumast. If we are in a space with a cultist and we get 7 justice on it, we can clear 1 token from here, 1 at a time. And this is saying that those tokens removed via that method would move onto this card. And when this is gone, we won't have to worry about its activation anymore. But as it is, it does go back directly into Judge's threat area. But before we actually get to go to resolve it, I am going to go ahead and use the window to use Shackling Hook. Exhaust, choose an enemy within 3 spaces of you, place your figure adjacent to it, and deal 1 damage. So we're going to shackle right back over. So we can go anywhere adjacent. There's no reason we need to hang out at the bows anymore. So I'm going to go to this side, a little more closer to other stuff, and deal 1 damage to that cultist. Also, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because we did defeat this scheme. Because we solved it, we get a clue card. You may move or get 1 die. And also, it has the hidden symbol, which means it's one of our setup schemes. We get to clear 1 hidden token from curtains. And once both of those are off, he will be available for direct solving. And once we solve him completely with 20, we can start fighting him. And then we can go ahead and resolve our threat area. So activate resolve the ritual effect, which is place the cultist or take 2 damage. And we'll just put that cultist right back. And then for curtain call, we have to spend a focus, and it says if we weren't able to, blah, 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 but we are able to. This does put Jem in a slightly awkward spot because with only 1 Trinity token charged, if he depletes that, he flips back to his unfocused side. I want to avoid that. So I'm going to play Belief in Balance. We have 2 of these in hand, so we'll play one of them. It is an action, so we're going to have to spend this, which is going to be a little annoying, I think. And it says charge a Trinity token, so that part's good. To deal 2 damage to any enemy and place 2 justice on any problem. And we will hit this minion here for 2 to get him out of the way. We don't have very many minions in play anyway right now, but getting rid of him means Jem won't take a damage if he takes a solve action here, which he is going to do, and place 2 justice on any problems. So we'll put 2 on the Palace of Lhumast. Could choose one of these curtain calls, but I want to make sure we get this done. Actually, don't mind these too much. And that is this card done, but that does mean it's time to resolve his threat area, except for the window. So let's go ahead and do some exhaust effects. And I'm going to use this, exhaust him, and deplete 1 Trinity token, which I guess is going to be this one, to resolve a Gleam effect. And the Gleam effect I would like to do is on our other copy of Belief and Balance here, which is going to be to solve or attack, targeting any space and gaining +1 die. We're just going to solve our own space here. His solve is 2, with +1 die means we're going to have 3. Would love more. Hopefully we'll get to do some bigger dice actions later in the game, but with 3 dice, we actually got a little bit of something. We got a burst here, so go ahead and roll an extra die into the mix. And we don't have any focus to spend, so we're just going to have 1, 2, 3 successes, and then 2 focus. So he will get 2 focus and 3 successes, putting it up to 5 out of 8. Although I could use this to turn those 2 focus into successes as well, putting up to 7. You know, we spent 5 focus to get here, but I'm going to go crazy and I'm going to do it. So I'm going to expend this one as well. Instead of getting those 2 focus, we're going to have both of those be successes, putting this up to 7. And then still in the pre-threat window, we will exhaust Judge on her focus side, she can place 1 justice on any problem, and we'll put this up to 8. Meaning, I guess actually she's the one who has solved it, and we'll get a clue for that. So you can either place a justice token on each problem or place 3 justice tokens on 1 problem. And now we have solved Before the Throne, so that will flip to Rewarded Fanaticism. It says each cultist gains +1 inflict value for each completed ritual, which would be tokens on this card. Each time a cultist is defeated, place it on this card, and if this card ever has 4 cultists on it, discard it. So we had to beat up a bunch of cultists to get rid of that. And when it activates, place a cultist in an altar, and then it will inflict you. These are some dangerous ones. We also get to remove the other hidden token from Curtains, so now we can start solving him directly. And we may as well exhaust this to gain a focus, since we can't charge a Trinity token. I think that's all we can do, so we will now resolve the threat area, place a cultist on the altar nearest gem, which will be this one, and then the cultist nearest you inflicts you, which is now going to be for 2. So he takes 2 damage. And then this one activates, which says discard a focus, and we will do so. It says if unable, blah, 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 but we were able. Play the issue turn and draw this card here. Unyielding Faith, discard 2 justice from determined ritualists. If unable to, the villain schemes. So now I think something's going to happen. So again, the scheme panel says if there's at least 1 cultist on the map, the villain advances. Otherwise, place 1 cultist on an altar, and there is at least 1 cultist on the map, so he's going to advance over to the yellow. And that is it for the issue turn. So we then go to round 3 and start out with the villain turn, dealing out these villain cards as though they were counter cards in Marvel Champions, but we'll resolve one first. We're going to do the symbols there. The blue symbol means place a minion in the blue scheme panel, so he will join Gem. The middle symbol means place a bystander. We'll put one right there, kind of nearby. And then the special symbol says, if no bystanders are captured, Curtains captures the bystander nearest him. Otherwise, Curtains gains a focus from the supply if able. So, guess that just gets captured anyway. Seems to be his thing, is capturing bystanders. And for Judge, we actually get a stagehand. So this is one of Curtains' lackeys. And they're going to move around collecting bystanders as well they can. So she's the blue bystander, or the blue lackey is going to start on the blue scheme space. And the card will join Judge and activate during her activation phase, bringing us back to the hero phase with refreshed everything. And I should have drawn at the end of the hero turn a card for each of the heroes, but still no third constant for Gem. And I forgot, as soon as both of these were spent, he should have flipped back to unfocused. So that's what we were trying to avoid, but that's what we got. And now that Curtains is revealed, no longer hidden, our focus will be trying to get to him and getting 20 justice onto that card. And the problem I'm having is that Curtains is so far away. Both our heroes do have the ability to solve from a distance, but not at will. Although that's nice because every time you solve, you get inflicted by the villains near you. And so if we do go to Curtains' scheme panel, the yellow one currently, in order to solve against him, which we need to do, he will inflict us for 3 each time, in addition to that minion that's there. So being able to scheme from a distance is nice, because we won't have to get inflicted. Currently, Judge can only do that once, and then she'll have to flip back to unfocused side. But I might try to optimize those solves, see how much mileage we can get out of them. So I'm going to use the first action on Gem to deplete. Oh, I can't deplete a Trinity token because they're all depleted already. So let's exhaust and charge a Trinity token in order to move. And go 1, 2, 3 next to this cultist in case we have the opportunity to take it out. Then we will exhaust him, or deplete the key, spend an action, and gleam. And we're going to have each hero move and either heal 3 or gain 2 focus. Honestly, I don't even know where I want to move, because if we go toward him, he might just advance and end up over here anyway. So I'm actually going to rewind my previous move on Gem and have him go 1, 2, 3. And then with this move, I'm going to have him go 1, 2, 3. And we're going to move him toward the Baleful Summit, the yellow scheme panel, just in case. He's the most mobile. And Judge, I'm actually going to send her over here to this cultist. And then they're each going to get 2 focus. We're not going to worry about the damage for now. So it's 2 here and 2 here. Putting this down to 5. It just stays in our hand. And then Judge is going to play Exhibit A. Choose a hero to discard 2 focus to gain a clue. We're going to pitch our 2 focus off Gem to give him a clue. We get 2 dice, or you may move, which is what we wanted, was the 2 dice specifically. And Judge will also play another copy of that card for herself. And we're spending all that focus for clues. Also 2 dice, or exhaust an enemy in a hero's threat area. So we haven't talked about that, but if I were to exhaust an enemy in a hero's threat area, for example, the only one actually right now would be the stagehand. If she got exhausted, then during the threat activations, she would get skipped, and then she would ready for the next round. But if we were really worried about her, for example. But now both of our heroes have a 2-die clue, which will be nice for boosting up actions. This is a bit of a puzzle, figuring out how to get all these things to work in the right order. I'm going to exhaust this for a focus. It just doesn't have enough actions. So I think we're just not going to get much done. The best I can do is play this, I think, which is going to be a second action. Charge a Trinity token to deal 2 damage to any enemy and place 2 justice on any problem. So put 2 onto curtains. However, anytime any amount of justice would be placed on him, instead discard a focus from him and reduce that justice by 2. So this comes off and goes back to our community pool. 2 damage can go to this minion here, which means it's defeated and Gem can get another clue. You may solve or get 1 die. And that was his second action. So now we have to do his threat area. I will do this, exhaust this and move 1 for each charge Trinity token, which is 1, so he just gets to go 1 space. And this is place a cultist in the altar nearest you, and then it inflicts you. It's actually going to mess up all my plans. I was getting hit for 2 and going up to 4 damage. And for the curtain call, it's going to take our focus, putting the pool back up to the maximum. I think we are going to have to spend Judge's focused side here. So first we'll exhaust her to place a justice on a problem. And actually we should have done that first because that would have popped the focus here. So I'm going to say I did that. I'm going to say I did this before playing Gem's Belief and Balance card, because then placing 1 justice would get replaced by curtains losing 1 focus. And then when we go to place 2 justice, we actually get to place it. So I'm going to rewind that a little bit of cheating, and then use Judge's action to solve with +1 die and targeting any problem, but then she flips back, and I'm going to spend this clue for 2 extra dice. I'm actually going to keep the other 2 clues for now. They're just 1 die each anyway. So that is a 5-die solve, and we're going to be targeting curtains, even though he's in a different space because of her sentencing ability. 5 dice, we get a burst and 4 straight up successes. Not very complicated. Another burst, and you get to keep going. And 1 focus. So 6 hits is pretty nice. That'll put him up to 8. And they should be blue, not yellow. And she'll get 1 focus, which is nice because she is flipping back down. 4 more to go, and we can go back to her focus side. We do want to get out of the stagehand's range before she activates. Question is, do I want to spend a whole action just attacking this cultist? We don't have much else to do because all the problems are out of range unless we want to work on a cultist problem specifically, but even then we have to be on that space as far as I understand it, and that would require a move. We might have been able to move differently earlier, but I'm not too worried about that anyway because solving this just takes tokens off of this, and currently that is not an imminent threat. So I'm just going to attack this here. So she attacks with just 2 dice, but we only need 1 hit. And we got 2 hits plus 1 focus. So we'll go up to 2 for her. Take out that cultist and actually gets placed here. If we get 4, that will go away. That was her second action, but before moving on to her threat area, I'm going to exhaust the shackling hook to move 1, 2, 3 spaces and take out another cultist, which will also be placed here. Then this says resolve the ritual effect, but I'm actually going to let her take 2 damage. That's one of the options with the ritual, and that will prevent more cultists from showing up. She's got a big 14 health, and Gem can do some healing sometimes, so let's just let her take some damage, and that'll prevent curtains from advancing, hopefully, depending on what comes up. Curtain call means she loses 1 focus. which I think that evens out here. And then the stagehand says, move 4 toward the nearest bystander on the map. There are none. If unable to, inflict the nearest hero within 5 spaces, but there are none, which is why we want to move out of the way there. And then move 3, and I think she will move toward the nearest hero, I think is the rule. And Gem's actually a little bit closer, so she's going to go 3 toward him. And each hero gets to draw another card. Draw for the issue turn. Fervent Follower, heal 2 damage from Vengeful Cultist if unable to the villain's schemes. So there we go. I think our little gambit of taking the damage paid off because the Baleful Summit says if there are at least 2 cultists on the map, the villain advances, but we got it down to only 1 cultist. Otherwise, place 2 cultists in different altars. So we'll refill our favorite 2 spots down here, and that's the issue turn. For the villain turn, we'll do Gem first again. First we get a yellow minion, refilling this spot here, a green minion over in the bowels, and the special says Curtains gains a focus from the supply. If unable, he discards 1 of his focus to scheme. Fortunately, we have plenty in the supply, so he'll just get 1. Although again, that is a shield from us being able to solve him. And for Judge, we got the green stagehand, so we got another lackey coming out, and both of them are going to be coming after Judge. We can set back up for our round 4 hero turn. So I think this might be a little wasteful, but this might work. So I'm going to spend or deplete this key to heal 3. I can do that anytime. Then I'm going to exhaust and charge a key to move. I'm going to move 3 spaces and enter the yellow scheme panel along with the hidden curtains, or the scheming curtains, the minion, and the bystander. Then I'm going to spend that key again to heal again, specifically because I want to be able to play Ebb and Flow for a particular effect. So it says for each hero within 4 of you that has suffered damage, which would be nobody, charge a Trinity token to heal 2 from each of them, so nothing. Then if you have no charged Trinity tokens, each hero may move and draw a card. I actually don't need to move with Gem. I will take that move with Judge and move her 1, 2 into the scheme panel. That is the same space as the scheme space, so technically all 3 of these figures are in the same space right now. And they each get to draw a card, and hopefully this will be Gem's 3rd constant. It's not. And that was an action. We get to draw a card and move around a little bit. So I guess I'm going to play this Belief in Balance, another copy that I drew. It says charge a Trinity token to deal 2 damage to an enemy and place 2 Justice on a problem. Again, that 2 Justice is going to pop off this focus. And then 2 damage will take out the minion, which means he'll take slightly less inflicting damage. I forget if I drew a clue for beating a minion before, but you're not supposed to do that. Hopefully I did not. That was his 2nd action, which means we're triggering his threat phase. He doesn't have any focus right now, but I'm okay with that. So we have to resolve Rewarded Fanaticism. We're going to place a cultist, or is there any way that we could defeat them before this has to resolve? I don't think so. Judge can definitely beat 1, but probably not 2. So we're going to place the 4th one, and then this one is going to inflict for 2 damage onto Gem. And then Curtain Call. Gem doesn't have any focus to spend, so the first time it's actually going to move 3 spaces toward the villain. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3 toward this space here. Fortunately, just out of range of him. I'm going to spend this clue. Instead of for the die, it says you may solve. So we're going to use it for the effect to let him solve. And when he does, Judge is going to play Wise Counsel. It says before a hero rolls dice during a solve, they gain +1 die. You can use any of your clues, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to give him a die. And he's going to spend his other clue for the 2 dice. So he's going to be rolling 5 dice. Hopefully it'll be good because he's going to be taking some damage for this. And it is not particularly good. We got 3 focus and 3 hits. With no focus to spend, I'm just going to add 3 here, up to 11. And he does get to grab 3 focus though, which is not the worst thing. If we can flip back over soon. Probably go ahead and use this to gain 1. It's 1 away from flipping, but we do want to be careful about when we flip because again, if we run out of keys, we will flip back immediately. Judge still has both her actions, and I think one of the things we want to do is fight. Now I am hanging on to this clue, which can add 3 to a problem at any time. With curtains at 11, this can put him up to 14. So he's kind of like he's 7 away. but she can't currently solve him from the distance right now. And you know what? I forgot something. When Jem did solve just now, a couple of things I missed. One is because he's in the space with a villain, even though it's a scheming villain, he does get inflicted for 3, so he's going to take 3 damage, going up to 5 damage. And he has the option of spending justice to solve other problems, for example, rescuing bystanders. So we're actually going to spend 1 of that to rescue this bystander instead, which we're not in big threat of running out of bystander figures right now, which it would be a problem if we were in that situation. But he gets a clue for that, which represents a die, which on average I would say is a little bit better than 1 justice, unless it's the last one. The clue could have been a 2-die clue, which would have been even better. So I think Judge's first action is going to be to play this card. So it is a constant, so it's going to go into play. It says when you play it, gain a clue. So that's nice. She gets a 2-die clue. It actually is another one that can add 3 directly. So that's kind of like Curtains is at 16. It also says we can exhaust it after a hero defeats a minion in an attack to gain a clue. And it does have actually a heroic feat symbol, which means we could have just spent this card for a free solve action, which would certainly be nice, but Judge is not close to Curtains, so that wouldn't help us, and by the time she is close, it'll probably be the fact that he's going to be flipping to Showdown mode soon, and we're going to want attacks more than solves. So that was 1 action, and I think our second action will be to attack. Well, first I am going to play this card as well. It's another constant. This one does not require an action to play. So each time you move into a scheme panel, you may defeat a minion in that panel. So we could have played this earlier before Jem gave us a free move into this space and defeated that minion as we entered it. But I didn't realize it at the time, and also I would retcon it, you know me, but I actually think I want to keep it there because I'm thinking of attacking, and by doing it this way I can just spend 1 attack point to get a clue, which is probably better than not. So I'm going to keep it as it is. Now, during a showdown, I can discard this to cancel a showdown effect. We'll see that come up later, or at least the option. And we can exhaust this constant during an attack to reduce a nearby target's defense to 0, which we'll probably be doing imminently because these stagehands do have a defense value of 1. So it's kind of like exhausting to do extra damage during an attack. Then we will just go ahead and attack. So we're going to spend our second action to roll just 2 dice. No point spending clues on this. Doesn't have to be big. And when we attack, we choose a space to attack, not necessarily a target. So we're targeting this green scheme space. It includes this space and this panel, as far as I know. So we can distribute the damage once we've rolled it between the lackey and the minion. So hopefully we get at least a couple damage. And there's 2, and they're not bad. So we got 3 hits and a focus. If we save that focus, we take it, we go up to 2. The curtain call is going to steal it from us anyway. So we may as well convert the focus we already have into damage, I think. So I'm going to spend that focus to turn this into a hit. So we got 2 hits there for a total of 4. And with 4 hits, we can distribute that how we want. So 1 will be to the minion, taking him out, and 3 of it will be to the lackey. Normally she would have 1 armor, but we'll exhaust Swift Justice, so she takes all 3 of that damage. And normally we would not get a clue for beating that minion, but because of collecting evidence, we can exhaust this and gain a clue for that. Just 1 die. You may solve targeting any peril card. I don't think there are any perils. Most of the curtain calls are perils. So this would give us a solve action regardless of position to solve either of those if we wanted to. Before we move on to the threat area, I am going to exhaust Shackling Hook to move adjacent to this cultist here because it's within 3 of the green. And we'll go here and deal 1 damage to it, putting the 3rd counter here. Then we'll resolve the ritual effect. I think at this point we may as well just let that 4th cultist rejoin the map rather than taking 2 damage. Although, if any more cultists start getting placed, they'll get converted. So you know what? Let's just take the 2 damage, putting her at 6 damage out of 14 health. And the curtain calls tries to steal 1 focus, but it can't, so it's going to move 3 toward curtains. Stagehand is going to move toward a bystander, but there's none. Inflict the hero within 5, but we're just out of range, so she's going to move 3 toward us. And then we are within 5 of the stagehand here. So they inflict for 3, and it's going to do 3 damage, which she just has to take. Now all of a sudden we're at 9 out of 14, just 5 health left. And I believe she'll still move toward me as the nearest hero. So Judge is starting to get a bit precarious. Gem is a bit low on health as well, but he has the ability to heal. We both have 5 left currently. We both get to draw a card. Still no third constant. Resolve the issue turn, Twisted Myths. I think this is the 5th one, because we can always count the cards. Yeah, we're ending round 5 here. Awaken the Dark World, discard an issue token from the depths, but there isn't one. So, or resolve the ritual effect on Beseech Lhumast. And we're getting low on health, so yeah, let's go ahead and take this opportunity to put the 4th cultist on the board. So that was referring to this card here, is in play. It just doesn't have any issue tokens on it. Then the next round, get one for Gem, a minion to the green panel. And a special, move 1 focus from the supply to the villain card for each lackey in play, which is going to be 2. So Curtains gets 2 focus, which is going to be annoying for trying to solve against him. And other card, Show Must Go On, another blue minion. There are 10 minions, so I got 5 of this style here and 5 of this style here. Again, if you were with the core box or starter set, you would just have tokens, but I got the miniatures expansion, and there's 2 varieties of minion, although they are still capped at 10. And if you need to place one, you don't have any left because they're all on the board, a crisis would occur. But we have a special happening now. Move 1 focus from the supply to the villain for each lackey in play. It's just another The Show Must Go On, and Curtains is racking up the focus. There's only 2 left in the supply. The rest is on Gem. And we get to play our hero turn. So I think I need to start out by using Visions of Mithora. We're going to spend a focus from Gem to charge a Trinity token. And then I'm going to play a card I just drew, which is Unify. Does not cost an action. Charge a Trinity token if unable, which we're unable because both of them are charged. Each hero draws a card. Still no third constant. Another card for Gem. Judge, I mean. So I'm going to go wild. I don't know if this would be defined as wild, but I'm going to have Judge fight this green stagehand here, spending her first action. She just gets to roll 2 dice for that. If we get lucky, we'll get 3 hits out of it. Let's see what we got. We actually did, so we got a burst. Well, we'll see. Could be a focus. Very nice. Okay, so 3 hits and 2 focus. So we'll take that 2 focus as gravy. And the 3 hits are enough to take out the lackey because we can use Swift Justice to ignore her armor. So we're going to defeat her because you already had 3 damage. And she's off the board. And for defeating lackeys, you do get to draw a clue. So it's another clue for Judge. Just another single die. And I think I'm going to use the Shackling Hook to move 3. Choose an enemy within 3 spaces if you place your figure adjacent and deal 1 damage. And I was thinking about taking out the cultist, but I wonder how greedy if I want to go for that blue stagehand as well. Although we did use the Swift Justice already. So I don't think I will. I'll just do the 1 damage to the cultist and choose this space. Then I'm going to use her second action to move and into this panel here, the Palace of Lhumast. When she enters a space, or when you move into a scheme panel, defeat a minion. So we'll take this guy out. Wasn't an attack, so we can't draw a clue card from that. Now, and then during the window before the threat phase, or threat area, I'm going to play Witness Protection as a heroic feat. So I'm just going to do an attack action here. This might be a bit of a waste. We're just spending a card and to make an attack. So I'm going to roll 2 dice, her attack value, and got 2 bursts actually. But we really just need 1 hit to take out the other minion here, because now we can use collecting evidence to get a clue for that. And we actually got a 2 die clue, which is nice. We didn't get any focus though. It would have been nice with all those extra dice. I won't be greedy. Do now have to resolve the threat phase. So from the depths has resolved the ritual effect. Guess let's just go ahead and put this cultist back. Curtain Call. It's going to cost us 1 of our focus and stagehand. It's going to inflict for 3 again. So Judge is now at 12 out of 14 hit points. I don't think I talked about it before. If a hero gets knocked out It's not game over. In fact, the hero comes back, so a crisis will occur, and I think you lose all your focus and stuff, but maybe respawn at the starting space, I think. I'd have to look it up. We'll see if that happens. It's bad, but not game over. And then the stagehand also moves 3 toward that blue space. And now we're going to have Gem solve, although I might want to jump through a few hoops here to avoid damage. So I'm going to deplete this to heal 3, and then exhaust this and charge it back to move. We're actually going to get out of here. Go 1, 2, 3. If we could defeat one more cultist, this would just go away. I'm going to choose this space instead, just so we're next to it, just in case. We'll see how the turn plays out. We haven't used any of his actions yet. Then I'm going to use his ability, spend an action to do and deplete a token to do a gleam effect. And we're going to do Belief in Balance's gleam effect, solving or attacking, targeting any space with +1 die. So now we're going to solve from a distance so we don't get inflicted. His solve is 2, +1 from that ability is going to be 3. This card goes back to our hand. And Judge is going to play Wise Counsel. Before a hero rolls dice during a solve, that hero gains a +1 die, so that's 4. And you may use any number of your clues, even if it's not your roll. And she's going to use these clues, bringing them from 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Because Curtain's effect only prevents once per solve, so we want to get this done in as few solve actions as possible. So 12 dice will hopefully get the job done. The core box plus the standalone sets means I've got plenty of dice to work with. And that's a lot of bursts, so actually I will be running out of dice, it looks like. You have 4 more dice, so as long as I don't roll any more bursts, I have exactly enough. Did get 1 more burst, so we'll call that 1 hit here, and re-roll a burst die. That's another burst. Do that, and there's a hit. So that is not a lot of focus, but it is actually just enough. So Curtains is going to spend 1 focus to prevent 2 of that, so 2 of that will go away. But we still have 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 hits. 14 plus 10 will be 24, which is more than the 20 we needed. So he is now solved. I think he'll still keep his focus though, because he has the same ability on the other side, except for preventing damage. So we are now in the Showdown Phase against Curtains. He's going to have 20 hit points, 2 defense, 3 inflict. Anytime he would take damage, he loses a focus and prevents 2 of the damage, same as the scheming side. And when he activates, he deals a hero within 4 spaces a peril token. Each hero within 4 spaces of a peril token, 3 damage. If you didn't take damage, you have to give him focus. So Gem does get 2 focus, so this will go down to 1, and he goes to 5. Actually, this should be at 2 because we just spent 1 off of Curtains. This card now actually goes into Gem's threat area, and so that will be when he activates is during Gem's threat phase. I think Gem does get a clue for solving that, I think. Gain 2 focus or 2 dice. He actually still has his own clue. I kind of forgot to spend it, but I guess I didn't need it. 1 die or attack. And Curtains actually moves from the scheme panel to the scheme space, although, again, technically that's the same thing. So for aesthetics, he's now on the map in attacking range. And the 5 focus on Gem means he is going to flip to his focus side, which actually charges his key. We couldn't have used the other one anyway, so I guess that's fine. So this is at 7, or should it be 6? I lost track, but there's 3 on Curtains. I think now it actually makes sense to go ahead and play these prismatic constructs. That'll be Gem's second action. But he gets to target 2 spaces because he's got 2 charged keys within 6 spaces of him. So we'll be attacking the cultist right next to him and Curtains, who is now attackable. And his attack value is going to be 3, but I think we'll add 2 dice to the mix with this clue. So he gets to roll 5 dice in the attack with a burst. And he actually doesn't have any focus. This is going to be 4 focus he gets and 4 hits. So 1 will easily clear out the cultist, which will be the 4th one on the rewarded fanaticism, meaning this is going to be discarded, which is nice. Put that with the issue discard. 4 damage to Curtains, although it actually, I think it's all going to be prevented because 2 of it is just going to be blocked, and then 2 of it he's going to lose 1 focus for. So that does put this up by 1. And then Gem gets 4 of that. which he doesn't super need, but could come in handy, I guess. We just got 3 in the pool. We didn't get to do any damage. That was a second action, so what do we want to do? I could have turned that 4 into hits by spending this Trinity. Let's just hang out for now. We'll go ahead and resolve his threat phase, discard a focus, so he goes down to 3. This goes up to 4. Then Curtain says deal each hero within 4 spaces of a peril token 3 damage. So it's going to be 3 on Gem, and each hero that didn't suffer damage loses a focus and puts it onto Curtains. So he goes up to 3. And we can do the issue turn. We get Lhumast's favor if rewarded fanaticism is in play. We actually just got rid of that one. Each cultist inflicts a different hero, otherwise the villain schemes. Okay, so he's going to scheme, which is what we expected. He'd end up in green eventually. If there are at least 2 cultists on the map, he advances, and there are 3, so he's going to head over to the green scheme space. It's okay, we still haven't gotten any rituals completed here. Go to the next round with the villain phase. For Gem, we get Denouement. Place a green minion into the bowels, and then you must either move 1 focus from the supply to the villain, or Curtains inflicts you. So he loses another one of his focus, and another one goes on to Curtains. So again, we're going to want to mitigate that by doing big chunks of damage, rather than maybe trying to grind through all 4. But I don't know if that'll be an option since Judge kind of blew her load of clues. Judge's Curtains card is the green Crisis, so that will come onto the map over here. And now we have 3 curtain calls coming for us, sapping away at our focus. I think I did forget to draw a card at the end of that hero turn. Finally, we got our 3rd constant for Gem, Ionic Vengeance. So this would be our 3rd Trinity. We've been deprived of all game. Before a hero's attack, you may deplete the Trinity token on this card for that hero to gain +1. After you defeat an enemy, choose a hero to draw a card as an exhaust. So we'll go ahead and put that into play, which is nice. Finally, our 3rd key is available, which will help him stay focused as well. So I don't think Judge is going to be able to help very much. To keep herself from getting taken out, I think let's start attacking this stagehand here. So she is near it. She's right next to it, so she can attack. And I'm going to actually just spend this card to avoid using an action. So again, we're just going to punch with this card. And that's just going to be her attack value of 2. See how much headway she can get toward the 6 damage. The burst is really good. So that's 3 hits and 1 focus. Now the stagehand does have a defense of 1. So we're only going to put 2 on here. Then I'm going to attack again. Again, just 2 dice. Kind of an awkward turn for such a climactic part of the game. Could be 3 hits. So I am going to spend the focus to make that into a hit. So we got 3 hits. I'm going to exhaust Swift Justice to reduce her defense down to 0. So actually put all 3 of that damage, bring her up to 5. Then I'm going to use Shackling Hook to move adjacent to her over here and deal 1 damage to her directly. And she yields a clue because she's a lackey, enemy card. A 2-die clue that says we can solve targeting any peril. And she is gone. Let's put a pin in that and have Gem exhaust and deplete a token to reveal a gleam effect. On this focus side, he doesn't have to spend an action for that, which is really nice. And I think we have to do this one because we might want that healing and the damage bonus, which we do because we're going to reveal this gleam effect here, attack or solve target in a space with +1 die. We're going to target this space here, which incidentally is also this space. So his attack is 3, plus that one is 4, plus this one is 5. So 5 dice goes to our hand against Curtains' space. Got 1 burst and a bunch of hits, and then there's that. I think I will spend the focus and make that to also 2 hits, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits. 1 of that will be against a minion. So we have 6 hits remaining, and Judge can use Collecting Evidence to let Gem get a clue. 2 dice and an attack. 6 left will go to Curtains. 2 of it will get blocked, so 4. 2 of that will be defended by 1 of these, and he takes 2 damage. So all of that just for 2 out of 10 damage. But yeah, we're definitely going to have to be whittling away at those focus that he's stolen from us. Here, I think I'll spend a focus to charge a key. Get our damage die back probably for next turn. Probably just want to keep attacking from a distance. We will want to move that direction. We do have this at any time. We can just fly anywhere we want, but I don't think we need to be next to him anyway. So let's just take this free move, exhaust this. No, because we still have 2 more. We have 2 actions. We don't have anything to do with them except for attack and just whittle away at these focus, I think. So I am going to play this. I'm just going to use this for the heroic feat and fly over to him directly and go straight to here. We do need 3 hits to get through because we have to get past his armor and then at least 1 needs to go through. So 3 dice is usually 3 hits, but we could just be wasting actions if we mess around. We have a couple clues we can spend for extra dice. We can spend this Trinity again, but I want to be careful about that because I want to stay focused and I might need to heal. So I think I'm just going to do an attack. So 3 dice. We got only 2 hits and 2 focus. So that's all we can do is just take it. We didn't get through his armor. And I think Jem just has to attack again. There's not much else he can do. So just 3 dice again and hopefully get a little bit better. Or this time we have focus to spend. But just 3 straight up hits means we do get to steal 1 focus off of there. And somehow I keep losing track. So we got 2 here, 2 here is 4. So it should be 6. We resolve his threat area, which is going to be discard 1 focus. And then Curtain says deal each hero within 4 spaces of a peril 3 damage, which is going to be both of them. So I think I am going to, well, there's no reason to do it now. I'll just take the 3, I guess. We can heal whenever we need to, at whatever moment it is required, as long as this key is up. And that also applies to Judge, but she's going to use a heroic feat card. So we're discarding this just for the shield icon, which is going to prevent 3 damage. So she doesn't take any, so she's not going to be knocked out. She still has a second action, and she's really got nothing to do. So she could move, but I feel like there's a reasonable chance that Curtains just ends up over here by the time it's our next hero turn. She could attack, but there's nothing to attack that's near her because she's a little bit far away from the cultist. Same thing with solving, trying to solve this peril over here, a little bit far away. She doesn't have any cards to play that are relevant, so I think she will spend an action to draw a card, which I don't think we've done this game yet. And that will be her second action and ready for this threat phase, which means we resolve another ritual, replace the 4th cultist. Curtain Call tries to steal her focus. She doesn't have any, and the green one does as well, so they're both going to move 3 toward Curtains. That one's getting close. And it's the issue turn. There are 3 more after this, but if we get to the 4th one, we'll lose the game, so hopefully that doesn't happen. I feel like we're closing in on something here, though. Unyielding Faith says discard 2 justice from determined ritualists. If unable to, the villain schemes. If there are at least 3 cultists on the map, the villain advances. There are 4, so he is now at the Palace of Lhumast, actually right here, because of the showdown. And you know what? I just realized I've been skipping something, which could make things even worse for me. I forgot to trigger the showdown 3 times. So every time you attack Curtains during the showdown, you actually have to flip a card here. And let's see if we can retroactively fix this. But after you roll dice for the attack, but before resolving any rerolls or spending focus and whatnot, I guess this game doesn't really have rerolls, but you have to do the showdown. So this is the showdown for Jem's first attack. Says move 1 of your focus to Curtains or immediately inflicts you, getting +1 damage for each peril in play. I don't think Jem had any at that moment. So this is definitely screwing up our timeline here. So yeah, that was a big mistake on my part. I don't know if he would be doing like 4 to 6 damage or just steal a focus. So I think at this point I have to just steal a focus because everything would have been different, which keys we had available and whatnot. So that is definitely annoying though. That was 1 of 3 attacks. And that definitely calls into question whether we should be just throwing useless attacks at him because I totally forgot about that. The enemy other than Curtains nearest you moves 3 toward you and inflicts, which would have been a cultist actually, which is interesting. So that's 1 damage, putting him at 9. +1 card is gone. Actually, it would have been a different cultist because we were standing way over here. It would have been like this one, but we had defeated. So we're just going to resolve it as if it were now because, again, timeline. And the third attack, you cannot spend focus during this attack. So again, I have no idea. Too late for that. But those are some ideas of what could happen during an attack, and hopefully I'll remember for future villain attacks. All right, next day and next round. Let's see if we can close this out this round or the next, starting out with the villain turn. We have a showstopper for red, which will put a minion here, and then a symbol that means he inflicts or schemes. If he schemes now in the Palace of Lhumast, it says place a cultist in each altar not containing a cultist. Then each hero resolves the ritual effect, which means we'd get a cultist here, and then both players would either have to choose to get another cultist or take 2 damage, and neither of them can afford to take 2 damage. If we take 2 cultists, they will both become rituals on Twisted Myths, so this is actually not good. But this is for gems, so I think I'm actually going to choose to let curtains inflict, but we're going to heal 3 first, so we can do that at any time, and then we'll take 3 from that inflict. And then we have to place a bystander, and I think we can just put one directly by Judge here. Then for Judge's card, we get the yellow lackey we haven't seen yet. So another stagehand showing up here for her, but she's going to be all the way over here, which is nice. Nice and far away. And then we can move on to the hero turn and see how much damage we can get onto curtains. So Jem is in a precarious position because I need to charge my keys. Now he's a distance away from curtains, and I don't really have good ways to charge them up. I can't spend a focus. His charge a key and move abilities on the other side. I'm wondering if it's likely that I could maybe spend this last key for a big attack, or to help out with a big attack, flip back over, and then maybe roll enough dice to get 5 focus again. I don't know, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to exhaust and deplete this key in order to gleam, making an attack against any space with +1 die. So it's going to be 3, 4, plus these clues will make it 7. 7's a lot, but not a ton, so I guess we're just going to have to hope for the best. I feel like we're so close and so far away here. Just 1 burst. Another burst. We need some more focus. All right, so 3, 5, 8 hits. Certainly nice. Our keys are all spent, so we do have to flip to our normal side. And just 2 focus out of that. So it's kind of far from getting back up to 5. 8 hits turns into 6 because he blocks 2, and then 4 because he's going to spend 1 of his focus, which puts him up to 6 damage out of 20. And I skipped it again. I need to do a showdown effect. So let's see what a showdown is. It says move 1 of your focus to curtains, or he immediately inflicts you, dealing +1 damage for each peril in play. So I don't know what that means for our attack because we didn't have a focus to spend at that moment. So I think we just have to take the 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. He only had 1 hit point left anyway. So this is the first time I've had a hero defeated, and that could have been a game-ending mistake because I could have exhausted this just to charge a key. No, because I had a charged key. So I'm not sure what my best option there was, but I'm going to go ahead and say the attack goes through. The rules didn't say anything about my attack being interrupted necessarily, at least not that I saw. It's kind of a thick rule book, but it says that I'm going to lose all my damage and focus. I didn't have the focus yet, but I have to leave play. So Jem actually leaves the board, and he'll return at the end of this turn, and he loses both of his actions. So that is really annoying. He will come back. We don't immediately lose the game, but that's a huge setback. We just lost both of his actions, and he's out for the rest of this turn, which means it's up to Judge to try to pull something off. I don't see her doing a lot of damage. Oh, and in fact, also a crisis is supposed to occur, which is this, that we get 1 ritual completed on the issue overview card. You know what? I am going to rewind that. I'm going to say Jem is still alive because Judge has the ability to use Swift Justice. When a showdown effect would resolve, you may discard this, from your hero play area to cancel it. So she's going to lose Swift Justice, which was a useful card, but that's going to mean Jem does not take 6 damage from this showdown here, and he's going to be back alive with 2 focus and 9 damage. And now we don't have to worry about the rules about whether that attack should have gone through, and he's still going to have 2 actions, which might not be super useful anyway. And we don't have to resolve a crisis, so that is probably better. Still thinking she might just need to be solving things, though. I mean, getting rid of these perils is not the worst. I was thinking she might need to solve from or beseech Lhumast to get that token off, but now it's not there. I think I'm going to exhaust Cosmic Congruence to move 1 for each charged key, which is 0. And then, if you have no charged keys, charge 1. I'm going to charge this one. I'm also going to exhaust this and discard a focus in order to charge a key. And I think I just have to risk it again. Well, I'm going to spend an action to use now his unfocused side's ability to exhaust a key and gleam. And again, we're going to gleam that same thing, plus 1 die attack against any space. The question is, which of these do we spend? Because I kind of want to add another die, but we probably just have to keep that healing as a contingency. So I'm going to spend this one, and we're only going to be rolling 3 dice to this attack, but we are attacking curtains. Maybe it doesn't even make sense to make a 3-die attack against curtains. We're just giving him a chance to showdown against us. Maybe we just need to clear cultists and solve problems until we have better control. I don't know if that's realistic or if things are just slipping out of our hands no matter what. Yeah, let's hold off on this actually. Just keep our 2 keys up for now. Instead, I'm going to use one of Judge's actions to move onto the cultist. The perils are unfortunately a little bit far away. I'm going to play a Burden of Proof in order to solve against the Beseech Lhumast. I think I have to be in a cultist space if I'm understanding this correctly. The top left, it says cultist as the location, so I think I have to be in a cultist space. It'd be nice if I could just be next to it, but I don't know if that's the case. So I'm going to go here and play that. It is an action. So we're going to solve and then choose a hero to gain a clue. Solve is 2. We're just rolling 2 dice. And that is just 1 focus and 1 justice. But, oh, that goes here. But at least Jem gets 1 clue, which is 2 dice. Very nice. That will trigger her threat area because both of her actions are up. So she has to resolve Beseech Lhumast, and we'll let a cultist come into play. Fortunately, one of the cultists left its altar, so that space is open. Curtain Call will steal her focus. Curtain Call Green will move toward curtains, and the stagehand will move 4 toward the nearest bystander. Now Jem has a clue with a couple extra dice to work with, so I think we can go back to our plan of spending an action and a key, because now we can be attacking for 5 dice. Okay, we got our base roll here. It's 3 hits and 2 focus, and that's it. We do have to draw a showdown, which is the enemy other than curtains nearest you moves 3 toward you and inflicts. If unable to inflict, that enemy immediately activates. So it is just a cultist, and it's just inflicting for 1. But I think we're going to have to use the key to heal 3 or it's going to take us out. So we go into the 6 damage and then up to 7. And then we can resolve our dice. And we may as well take the 2 focus, because if we converted one of our focus into 1 more success, that'd be 4 hits. 2 of them would be blocked, and then the other 2 would be prevented by his focus ability. So instead, we'll just take 2 focus, going up to 3, and then he takes 3 hits, 2 of which are blocked. And then only 1 damage is prevented by his focus ability, and he still goes down to 1 focus. So we're whittling away at him. Jem has 3 focus. If we can get 2 more focus, he will flip and all his keys will become ready again. To that end, I think it makes sense for him to do a basic attack against this minion here. It is near him. So he's going to attack the minion in the bowels. That's where she's standing. That's not where he's attacking her. We'll have to be lucky to get 2 focus out of this, but we've got a couple other effects that will reward us anyway for taking out a minion. So just 2 dice, hoping for 2 focus, but we'll almost certainly get at least 1 damage. So So that's 1 focus and 1 damage. So he goes up to 4, just short. 1 hit will take out the minion, and then he can use this exhaust ability to, after you defeat an enemy, choose a hero to draw a card. I think he'll take it for himself. And collecting evidence says exhaust after a hero defeats at least 1 minion during an attack, and that hero gains a clue. So he gets another clue. This is 1 die for heal 3 damage. So that healing might be more valuable than the die. The card he drew is also a block, so it's a heroic feat to prevent 3 damage. So it's actually okay on health right now. That was his last action, though. Then I'm going to exhaust the Shackling Hook. Exhaust, choose an enemy within 3 spaces of you. You may place your figure adjacent to that enemy and deal it 1 damage. So she's going to place herself 1 adjacent to this cultist and deal it 1 damage. And unfortunately, we then have to go to Gem's threat phase. Curtain Call will steal 1 of his focus, putting him down to 3 again. And then Curtain says deal each hero within 4 spaces of a peril token 3 damage, and each hero that did not suffer damage from this effect moves 1 of their focus to this card. They are both within 4 of a peril, so they both take 3 damage. Guess Gem will just block it. But unfortunately, Judge is going to take that and get knocked out, although at least we got to use her actions. So she comes off the board here. Oh, I forgot, when we ended the hero phase, they should have both gotten a card. We have to take a crisis, so that's 1 ritual now. And that is the end of the hero turn, which means Judge actually comes back into play now. Any space adjacent to the starting space. And then we play the issue turn. Only 2 cards left after this. Fervent Follower says heal 2 damage from Vengeful Cultist. If unable, the villain schemes. So all the altars get filled up with cultists. And then each hero has to resolve the ritual effect on Beseeched Lhumast. In this case, we cannot add any more cultists, so we just have to take 2 damage. Actually puts Gem back up to 9. And Judge takes her first 2 damage. Going into the next round, we get a couple cards for curtains. First up for Gem, we have an Encore, a blue minion, a red minion, and a special. Curtains gains a focus from the supply. So he goes back up to 2. And then Judge's is the red stagehand. For some reason I thought we'd seen all the stagehands already, but here she is. Big old threat area. So I'm going to do my standard attack, use 1 of Gem's actions. Oh, I have to deplete a key. So I'm going to use Cosmic Congruence to not move at all and instead charge a key and then deplete it using an action to Gleam. Again, attack any space with +1 die. This time I'm actually attacking the red space here. So we're going to have 3 dice, and hopefully we can take out at least 1 minion with that. Maybe get 2 focus. That's 1. Burst. Alright. Focus is so hard to come by, I guess. 3 damage. The stagehands can block 1, so I don't want to just take out both the minions and then waste the damage. Instead, I'm going to take out 1 minion, waste 1 damage, and then hit the stagehand for 1. I actually want the focus, I think, so I'm going to go up to 4. 1 damage on the stagehand red, and take out 1 minion. After you defeat an enemy, choose a hero to draw a card. I'm actually going to give that to Judge. And after a hero defeats at least 1 minion in an attack, that hero gains a clue. So Gem will get another clue. 1 die that says choose a hero to get 2 focus. So here we go. So I'm going to use that and give him 2 focus, putting him up to 6. He immediately has to spend 5 of it, so he goes down to 1 focus and becomes focused, which means all of his keys charge immediately. I'd love to have Judge be able to rescue this bystander, but I don't think we can afford to. I'm going to have to spend an action just to move, just to get close enough to be able to use the Shackling Hook and move next to this cultist. And actually check the rules, and we can solve when we are near a game component that corresponds to a problem card. We don't have to be on the cultist space, which is nice. And then I am going to solve, again, with the Burden of Proof. Another copy of that, meaning that we'll be able to give a clue to somebody afterward. Well, I guess when I Shackling Hook, I have to deal damage. So I think what I have to do instead is move this direction. And you actually don't need to use the Shackling Hook. I can just move next to it. Just move next to that cultist. Because if I use the Shackling Hook, I have to deal damage, and then there's no cultist to scheme near or solve. So we're going to solve near this cultist and then give a clue. I'll go ahead and play Wise Counsel. Before a hero rolls dice during solve, they gain a +1 die, and we can use our clues even if it's not our action. But we're not using clues, we're just going to take that die. So that is 3 dice. Let's see how that goes. 3 successes, and we get 1 focus on Judge. So this puts the Beseech Lhumast up to 4 out of 7. Gem gets a clue, which is 1 die, or exhaust an enemy in a hero's threat area. And I'm going to use this card as a heroic feat to do a solve action. So we're going to solve again. It was our second action to do that first solve, but we're going to do this. Go ahead and do this before resolving her threat area. And let's hope the dice are in our favor on this one. That is pretty good. So we will spend our focus to turn that into 2 hits and then 3 hits. And 3 hits means we can put 3 more justice here, bringing it up to 7, which means we've solved it, which means we can move one of these over to here. If this gets 3, it will be gone. And Judge actually gets a clue for solving this, 2 dice or heal 3 damage. And then before doing her threat area still, I'm going to exhaust this and move adjacent to this cultist and deal it 1 damage. It will free up a spot so that when we do this card and resolve the ritual ability, we'll just replace it. Curtain Call will move 3. Curtain Call Green will move 3. Stagehand will move 4 toward the bystander, capturing her. And the red one can't move toward a bystander, so instead she inflicts heroes within 5, which is none, so instead she will move 3 toward the closest hero. And they're equidistant, but just equidistant, I'll just do that. And I think we still have some things we can do with Gem. I'm going to go a little risky, but I'm going to exhaust this to gain a focus, going up to 2. And then Judge is going to play Exhibit A, choose a hero to discard 2 focus to gain a clue. So we're going to lose both of those and give him another clue, so we have to reshuffle this. And he gets another single die, can give 2 focus. Instead, we're going to exhaust him and spend a key to Gleam, again attacking with +1 die against any space, which again will be curtains, of course. He is focused, so that's 3 attack, +1 will be 4, and I'm going to spend this for 5. And let's just make that 8, I guess. These have some useful effects. I want to get as much damage on him as we can. Might be reckless, but it feels good to roll 8 dice anyway. Got 3 bursts. We get 3 more dice here. Oh, I think before we resolve that is probably when we're supposed to do these showdowns. So let's see what he's got in store. You cannot spend focus during this attack. Great, we didn't have any focus. Appreciate it. All right, that was a nice one. It's actually also possible for a complete miss to occur. So if you flip up one of the stagehands, the lackeys, as a showdown effect, they just don't do anything. All right, so we got 10 hits and 4 focus out of that. Very nice. That's why I wanted to roll 8 dice. So let's take our 4 focus. So I feel like I'm safe to spend all my keys because I can charge back up pretty quickly afterward, and then all the keys come back. Gem is just raining fire down on curtains. Okay, with 10 hits, so 2 that get blocked, that's 8. 2 more get blocked by focus, so that's 6, and that will put him up to 12 damage. Still have to do 8 more, though. So now I am actually going to intentionally go down, because I'm going to spend this to heal 3. So he just has 6 damage on him. I'll just use that. So he goes back to his unfocused side, and that's the side where we can spend an action and a token. We don't have the token anymore. So I might instead just use that action to do a basic solve against Beseech Lhumast, since he is near a cultist. So that's just 2 dice. Hoping for a focus. We did get it. I mean, as many successes as we can get is great. 2 focus. So we did solve for 2, so we can put 2 justice there. And there's currently no rituals complete, but we can work on, there probably will be soon. 2 focus means he goes from 4 up to 6. 5 of it gets spent immediately, and he goes back to his focus side, which charges up all 3 keys again. Pretty much out of stuff we can do this turn. So we'll go ahead and do Curtain Call. Yellow is going to steal his focus. Curtains deal each hero within 4 of a peril takes 3 damage. Which actually applies to Judge, but not Gem. So she goes up to 5 damage. Gem actually just says each hero didn't suffer damage, moves one of their focus to this card, and he doesn't have any now. This is the penultimate issue card. Crisis. A crisis occurs, which just means straight up a ritual is on there. Going into the next round, we get a couple more curtains cards for Gem. We get a green showstopper. I'm going to put a minion here. The villain schemes or inflicts. Now we've got to take the 3. Inflict. Well, if we scheme, he takes 2 instead, and Judge also takes 2. So it's 3. Is it better to have 3 on Gem or 2 on each of them? 4 is more total damage, but she's kind of got some room to spare here, so I'm not sure. But let's spread it out. So basically, we chose to have him scheme, which fills up all the altars. Each hero does the ritual effect, either take 2 damage or place a cultist. So that's why they both took 2. And then a bystander gets placed. I guess the closest one now is here. Then for Judge, get Curtain Call Blue. This is not getting any smaller. And it's back to the hero turn. I should have drawn a card for each of them. Oh, and I didn't realize this, but Curtain Call, I forgot to put the token out. The token is in his space already, which means it should just happen right away. This peril enters the villain's space, discard it, and the villain schemes. So I think that just happens immediately. And when he schemes, we both have to take 2 more damage, which Judge can handle. But Gem is going to have to heal 3 and then take the 2, which means he's down a key already. I think I'm going to use this as a heroic feat for Gem to give him an attack action and attack this space here, which is the same as this green space. Basically, I'm going to be trying to take out this minion. Maybe get some focus, but not super important. So just roll his 3 attack dice and just 3 straight up hits, no focus. But that'll take out the minion, and then after he defeats an enemy, he will draw a card, and after a hero defeats a minion, they get a clue. So that's nice 2 dice. I actually drew the card I was dreaming of. This has a movement heroic feat, which means Gem can go anywhere on the map. And that might be all we needed. And then I can kind of cheese out the rest of the way here. I'm going to have Judge solve near the cultist, the besieged Lhumast, using her hero ability. Costs an action, but she gets to solve with +1 die if she has at least 1 clue, which she does. So she's solving for 3 dice. She probably won't finish it, but it'd be nice if she did. That's just 3, so I'll put it up to 5, and she gets 1 focus, which is okay. I was hoping to finish it, but it's mostly just I didn't have a particular use for her other action. And if we did happen to finish it, we'd get a clue, which would help with our next move. We're going to use her heroic feat. She has a movement as well. And we're going to fly over to, or swing over, whatever she does, 2 curtains. Go ahead and use the shackling hook and just deal 1 damage, which will be prevented by his last point of focus. Let's let Judge get in a nice hit, just because she's got some clues stored up. So she's going to do a basic attack. Actually, it'd be nice to let her do a 6-die attack, but if she did, that would mean all of this stuff happens as well. And I don't think that would necessarily kill us, but it wouldn't be great. So I'm actually not going to use her attack and just let Gem steal all the glory. I think this will work. So we're going to use his heroic feat to fly anywhere and have him come join the party. We're going to exhaust focused Gem and deplete a key in order to resolve a gleam effect. And that gleam effect, oh, you know what? I miscalculated. I think Judge might still get her chance. So let's rewind that particular thing. And I think I'm going to use one of his actions to play Belief in Balance. We're finally going to just play it. Charge a key, deal 2 to an enemy, and place 2 justice. So we get to just hit him for 2. Doesn't get blocked because it wasn't an attack. His defense doesn't block that. We get to finish this besieged Lhumast, putting up to 7, which means he gets a clue for that, which is another 2 dice. And this ritual gets moved over here. 1 more, and this is taken care of. Hopefully we'll be done before that point. So now I think we can go ahead and spend a key. We're going to exhaust him to Gleam. We're going to Gleam with Prismatic Constructs. Just deal 1 damage to a nearby enemy for each charged key, which is going to be 2. I'll put him up to 16 damage. For some reason in my head I was thinking I could do like 6 or 9 damage with that, but I wasn't thinking about the key economy, that the keys are going to keep getting depleted, and in fact, in order to gleam, you have to deplete a key, so it's already just only going to be 2 damage anyway. But I'm thinking, do I just want to play that as his second action? Which means Judge won't get her attack in, but I think that still makes sense, so we get to attack 2 spaces within 6 of Gem, so we'll attack the space with curtains and the space with the yellow stagehand for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dice, and we'll go ahead and deplete this to make that 8 dice, and hopefully that will take care of it. Curtains has no focus now to stop him. No bursts. We're going to be getting some focus here too. But that's 6 hits. Reduced by 2 is 4, which is actually exactly enough to take him out. 6 hits, one of it gets blocked by a stagehand, so she actually gets to survive with only 5 damage on her. Oh, and I should definitely do the showdown, so let's not skip this one. Move 1 of your focus to curtains, or he immediately inflicts you, dealing +1 damage for each peril in play. I don't have any focus, so I get inflicted for 6. I can heal 3, but that will still knock out Gem. So I guess that makes it really important whether this attack resolves, because this is it. So I don't see anything in the rules that says the attack does not continue to resolve. You wouldn't be able to spend focus because you'd be knocked out and you wouldn't have any focus. And I assume you wouldn't either be able to gain the focus from that attack because you're not in play anymore. So it seems like we got him, but just in case and to give Judge her chance, let's resolve the threat area. So yellow is going to move 3. Gem is off the table for now. Curtains is going to deal 4 damage to her because she's near a peril, or not near it, but within 4 of spaces of it. Which actually puts her to 13 damage, and she is going to attack him, and if the showdown deals damage, then she would be out as well, assuming those are how the rules work. Just as she can't spend focus, she only has 1. We're spending both of these dice. I didn't even roll my dice yet, but definitely going all in here, so 6 dice. We don't need to be too lucky because he's at 16 with 2 blocks, 6 dice, and we need 6 successes is about what we can expect. Unless we roll too much focus, and we can't spend this one, which means we only got in for 5, 2 gets blocked, 3 goes through, and that puts him at 19 damage. Just 1 short. She will get 4 focus, putting her up to 5. And then all 5 of that goes away so that she flips to her focus side. That won't do her a ton of good because she only has 1 health left, and it's likely she's going to get hit here during her threat phase, which means she'll be knocked out, flip back over. We should have taken a crisis. From Gem being knocked out, we would then get a second crisis because I'm sure Judge will get knocked out. But nonetheless, I'm going to say we won, because again, I couldn't find any rules instance saying that the damage would not go through. Definitely a nail biter down to the end. I did a lot of talking and walking through all of how the game works. I think it's supposed to be much faster than this, especially once you get the hang of it. It's only my second game. I'm hoping to bring some more scenarios to the table, along with different villain and issue setups. I think there are 10 different issues, 6 different villains, and 12 different heroes, or something like that. Maybe it's 14 heroes. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe so we can get more subscribers, and bye.